big time. You don't want to be on the receiving end of one of those. No, you don't. Okay, so we are hearing from Iran, from the Iranian regime, that very soon there is going to be a massive ballistic missile attack fired at Israel. Soon. Coming from Iran, ballistic missiles inbound. They are pissed off. They're going to make the Israelis suffer. Allegedly.
Are you sure?
Allegedly.
Yes, I'm live.
I'm talking about
Soon TM.
Talking about the war.
A little bit.
You miss Sleepy Joe.
All right, folks.
Do you?
Well, let me put this guy on mute for a little bit, and I'll talk about something else. We're going to keep him in the background. This is a Matt Moore's TV. He has a live footage of several different places where the Persia War, it used to be called Persia for centuries until it was renamed Iran, is going on. Iran is currently being run by a Muslim dictatorship that for decades has been in a proxy war with the USA and Israel. And so they are responsible for the harm of thousands of innocent people across the nation. So far as we know, there has been no U.S. casualties yet. The regime that is running Persia, that is renamed Iran, has launched several attacks on neighboring Muslim countries, Bahrain, Qatar, however you want to pronounce it, and of course Israel. But of course, I want to talk about a little more what's going on a local level. I want to share this post. It is by Republican Patriots of Arkansas and explain a little bit of what's going on. There is an individual by the name of Chris Caldwell who has been not just involved in the Republican Party, but basically running it from behind the scenes for several years. I'll read this text from Republican Patriots of Arkansas posted on Facebook a few hours ago. Many of you received an ugly text message about Secretary of State candidate Brian Norris. This text was sent by none other than Chris Caldwell. Chris ran the governor's last campaign, that's Sarah Huckabee Sanders, is a close friend of hers and was appointed by her to head Arkansas Game of Fish. What he said about Brian Norris is a complete lie. Additionally, his IEC, Independent Expenditure Committee, was formed on February 25th. That is the day the article came out that we had received a $100,000 contribution by Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. AVII knows we support a plethora of candidates who believe in allowing the people to choose their voting method. Chris's filing shows a zero balance of funds, so how was his statewide text paid for? I bet we can all take a guess. Now, there's more stuff about this. It talks about Brian Norris, and then it supports him. This is some of the paperwork. I actually had this as a thumbnail image for the start of this video. It's hard to see that it's his paperwork filed for the Secretary of State for the group ironically called Arkansas Conservatives. This is a picture of him speaking, I believe, to the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. That is the governor right behind him. And then this is him hanging out with the governor and and her family. So this guy's heavily involved. I have some better images I want to show folks of this organization that he filed. He filed it the day before, and last time I checked, it had zero in terms of actual donations. This is a full image. And you can, by the way, see his phone number, his email, the date this was registered, which is February 25th. And so far, it only has his name on it. This guy's an absolute fraud. He has been sabotaging conservative efforts for years. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a video of the winter committee meeting from not last year, but the year before, where Chris Caldwell was able to shut down debate regarding allowing the passage of conservative issues in the Republican Party of Arkansas. What you could do?
It's ridiculous.
So this is a video I made a few years ago about this. And this is the same guy. He sabotages conservative efforts. And that's all he's really been for. If I have some more images to show of this guy, some of the organizations he represents. Here's a buddy of his, Bill Clinton. He hung out with during some event at the governor's mansion. And he's probably buddies with a lot of the thing is they're both the same type of animal. They're both globalists. They hate America. They should both in reality be in jail. Bill Clinton, by the way, is supposed to be giving testimony on what he knows regarding Epstein. Of course, he's going to say, I don't know, I don't recall. And the press is going to give him a pass because they're going to claim that they're going to say, well, the case is over. I mean, this is the same press that's going to try to tie Epstein over to Trump. Even though Trump was one of the few people that managed to stand up to Epstein years ago. And consequently, we didn't even know about Epstein until Trump came into office. But yeah, this is the guy that needs to be kicked out of the Republican Party. He needs to be shamed for the coward that he is. And you can do things about this. You can contact the Republican Party of Arkansas, tell them this, you don't want this guy involved. He needs to be banned from conventions. This guy's also responsible for banning real conservatives from the Republican Party. Probably the most successful Republican Party of Arkansas chair, a guy in Jonesboro named Barry Eggers, was kicked out because of a mysterious rule change involving inactive members. But this parasite is allowed to stay in. So I'll show you another graphic of Caldwell. This is the one I made about a year ago. These are some of his clients. This is Big Healthcare, Arkansas Health something organization. Empower, this is another big healthcare organization. Entergy, who has recently increased their utility rates on people. Summit Utilities, which, by the way, also is a sponsor of a Democrat consultant. Island View Casino. So while this guy talks about, he oftentimes works with religious right politicians. He's actually in bed with Island View Casino. And this is another consultant firm. I'm mainly focusing on this guy. And again, we need to kick people like this out. Example, this is a graphic I showed before. This is what Charlie Kirk kicking Ron McDaniel out of the Republican Party on a national level. You notice when we kick the consultants out, we win. Oh, by the way, Meta, that's Mark Zuckerberg's group. That's the guy who's pretending to be a fan of Trump, even though he was a globalist his whole life and actually never even set up Facebook. He was just the guy that the globalists put in to make in charge of it. But yeah, Chris Caldwell is a client of Meta. And of course, if you know, Facebook was, is, and always will be anti-conservative. That's why I've actually moved to organizations like MeWe, Parler, Gab. Well, Parler used to be up. I don't know if it is still now. At Truth Social. And by the way, side note, Elon Musk isn't a conservative either. He just wants us to be in a futuristic iRobot world, or world like the Minority Report, where you can shut down a guy with a few keystrokes. And that wasn't going to happen under Sleepy Joe. So, but anyway, what we really need to do is find ways to kick consultants like Chris Caldwell out of the Republican Party. First, you need to find out, which candidates they're actually working for. And then from there, you need to find a way to remove them. You can call the Republican Party. Here, I'll show the contact information so you can contact them and let them know you want this guy gone. And again, most people don't know about this. They just see a bunch of, papers and the flyers. They see ads on TV, and they just kind of vote for whoever has the most ads. But if you really want to fix things in this nation, you're going to have to kick the consultants out. You're going to have to remove them. And you need to do it because so we can fix this country, at least on a political level, so we don't end up like Persia, so we don't end up like Mexico, so we don't end up like as many of these third world nations that are having to use war now because they don't have a choice in the matter. And the sad thing is a lot of things that could have been done, like stopping the ATF from using police to do illegal raids, the thing that got Malinowski killed about a year ago. That's something that probably could have been stopped had we had a conservative Republican Party. By the way, we have a Republican supermajority. That means we have enough Republicans. We have over 3/4 of the Arkansas House and the Arkansas Senate, and of course we're supposed to have a Republican governor. There's absolutely no reason why we couldn't ban the ATF, why we couldn't do all sorts of stuff to fix this state, but we can't. And we're going to have a fiscal session coming up, and fiscal session, I'm sure any conservative effort that we try to make to fix this state and make it better is going to be ruined by Chris Caldwell. I had a problem logging in a Truth Social before, so I just posted my link on there. You've got to kick these consultants out. You cannot have them in the state. I'll show again what it is I'm talking about for those who may have tuned in. So we have a Republican primary election. It's March 3rd. There are 3 candidates running for Arkansas Secretary of State. One of them is Brian Norris. The other one is Kim Hammer. And a third one is, oh my goodness, what is her name? Harrington, I believe. And on a side note, I know that one lady has disavowed this and has promised to take legal action against the guy who made these texts. So hopefully we get to see that. Let me see if I can actually find the text itself. I thought it was in this post. It is not. By the way, check out this group, Republican Patriots of Arkansas. Great organization. They were recently formed to try to reform the Republican Party and get the Republican Party make. And I compare Caldwell to another guy. I'm going to show this. Oops. By the way, sorry for those who couldn't see me. Recently, my wife and I saw a movie. Most of y'all know it's called Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and most people know it. It's about this guy who almost accidentally gets made a United States senator. He has no idea what's going on. So he decides he's going to pass a bill, something about a camp for kids to keep him out of trouble. And most people know what happens. They try to sabotage his efforts. It turns out his camp was going to sabotage some project regarding a big dam. Mr. Smith's fellow senator from the same state, and at first supports him, but then is told to sabotage him. Well, this Taylor guy is the villain in the movie, and he's the guy. He's not an elected official. He's some kind of like lobbyist guy, and he does everything in his power to try to stop Jimmy Stewart's character, Mr. Smith, from passing this bill. Here he is welcoming Mr. Stewart, and then in this other scene, if I can get my buttons to work, is when he's leaning into the other senator and bullying him into trying to kick Mr. Smith out of the U.S. Senate. And so Mr. Smith is betrayed, but even though he's standing alone, he realizes he's able to realize that he can do a filibuster, so he drives a 24-hour filibuster. When that happens, this Taylor clown somehow finds a way to shut down almost all the media, the radios, the TV. This guy's on the phone with a bunch of people saying, don't broadcast the big filibuster that Mr. Smith does. In the end, a bunch of kids who happened to have their own little newspaper, they were actually Boy Scouts that Mr. Smith had helped before he became a senator. They run their own paper, and they managed to get just enough word out that people realize to figure out what's going on. And they start showing up at the U.S. Senate, and I think it shows him in the end winning. I think he beats Taylor. But Chris Caldwell is our Taylor. Chris Caldwell is our Ronna McDaniel. He's a parasite that needs to be removed from the Republican Party. And by the way, those that are outside the state of Arkansas, I guarantee you got some parasite just like Caldwell. You got the same kind of animal. Here's his Twitter page just to show it. And then here's another group that Mr. Caldwell made. It's called Safe Streets Arkansas, and it's a big. You can see the kind of money this guy gets. Rockefeller, that's the same family that gave us big pharma and lots of other problems. Now, this is money, I believe, to support candidate Will Jones for prosecuting attorney, which in and of itself may not mean much as a local prosecuting attorney, but it can be a stepping stone to a judicial candidate. And who this Ronald Cameron is, you can see the kind of money this guy bundles around. On a side note, this guy was in charge of a group called Stronger Arkansas. It was supposed to be a pro-life group, and it was supposed to counter and fight against the efforts to put murder of the unborn, aka abortion, on the ballot in the last election. Now, the organization, it used to be called Arkansas Reproductive Rights, and then I think it changed its name to something else so that people wouldn't realize it was a pro-abortion group. They raised $370-something thousand, but they actually funded their activists so they could get out signatures. They gave them materials, they gave them a network, and they actually did get enough signatures to be put on the ballot. Fortunately for us, they messed up their paperwork regarding canvassers, and so they weren't able to be on the ballot. But the group Stronger Arkansas, which was supposed to counteract them, did not fund any people. I know because I was part of that effort. Me, my wife, many others tried to stop these people from gathering signatures, and we had nothing. And so because of that, you ended up with all kinds of, like I said, they almost got, if Chris Caldwell had his way, abortion would have at least been on the ballot. And he would have enriched a bunch of his buddies with lots of money. That's the kind of parasite that we have, and that's why we need to remove him. He is as leftist, he is as anti-Christian, anti-conservative as Bill Clinton, as Bill Gates, as Schwab, as Soros. But the problem is he is in the Republican Party. As I just showed in that video, he was a delegate to the winter committee meeting. He usually shows up at almost every one of the committee meetings, and he was able to shut that committee meeting down. In another winter committee meeting, he was able to shut it down while they were halfway through their agenda. And of course, he's bundling lots of money to slander conservatives. Let me see if I can find that actual, the actual text that was in question. I thought it was on that post. And by the way, if you know some other people that are, oh, here it is. Here it is. Thank you to Candy Cox for showing this. And this is her statement that I just saw 18 minutes ago. So this was posted, but not long after I started this. As president of the Slain County Women, I do not endorse candidates in Republican primaries. That position is important to maintain fairness and unity within our party. However, I will always stand for truth. A mass text is currently circulating from a group calling itself Arkansas Conservatives that contains inflammatory and unsubstantial allegations against Brian Norris. The language used is reckless, divisive, and designed to provoke anger rather than inform voters. Additionally, these allegations are absolutely false. And I won't read the rest of that. But here's the actual text. Here's the text in question. Senator Hammer and Judge Harrison, that's the other opponent candidate for Secretary of State, standing with President Trump to secure our elections and Constitution. Brian Norris, empowering the radical left to destroy our Constitution and erase our freedoms. It's so childish. It's just... And you can tell it's just crappy little AI images. That's designed to slander someone. It's literally the opposite. By the way, Brian Norris served as a combat veteran, so it's kind of hard to call him destroying the Constitution. And as said before, this was according to, I think her name is Kathy Harrison. She actually spoke. Yeah, here she is. I don't know if she has I know she gave a statement to Steve Finnegan yesterday, state disavowing this message and stating that she would possibly file legal action regarding this. But I don't see any official message, but I'm told that she did say that on the Steve Finnegan show when they talked about this yesterday. And again, why are we going through all this while there's a war going on in Iran? Because you gotta kick people like this out on a political level, so you don't end up with a war in Iran. So you don't end up with a Vietnam War, because globalists love to start and lose wars. Globalists like to keep dictators in power. Globalists hate this nation. They want another Vietnam. They want the war, then they deliberately lose the war, and then they throw their hands up there and says, well, I guess we got to live with it. They're traitors to this country. They always have been. And the sad thing is, a lot of people want reform, but they don't know how to do it. They try to get involved in the Republican Party, saying, okay, I'm going to run for office, or I'm going to knock on doors and volunteer. And then they get driven out by cowards like this. This clown kicks them out. He's already done it. He drives a lot of people away. Either they leave in disgust, or they just get tired and or the rules get changed and somehow they get kicked out. All right, thanks. I got a text about it. Yeah, I just found her, Kathy Harden Harrison. And yes, I've met her before. I couldn't quite catch her name, but yeah, this is a huge problem, and I'm glad Kathy Harrison stood up against it. I understand that Kim Hammer has disavowed uh, these texts as well, but I haven't confirmed that. I can't say one way or the other. It's kind of up in the air, kind of like whatever's going on with the Ayatollah Khomeini, whatever his name is, the leader of Iran. Everyone's just kind of waiting to see if he's gone, but yeah, it's disgusting, cowardly. Oh, here's another version of it. Here's kind of the text version of the same thing. Oh, this is by Richard Castor, who posted this an hour ago. He is saying that Senator Hammer should come out and denounce this and those who sent it. But again, just to let you know, it's Chris Caldwell. Now, Lori Justice has talked about this before. A lot of people did alert me to this. I'm not the first one to find out about this, so give some credit to Lori Justice and others who first notified me about this. Here it is again. It's the same thing. A proven record for election integrity. And by the way, Senator Kim Hammer did pass a bunch of bills, but most of them weren't about election integrity. They were about things like being able to gather signatures to put on a ballot. And there were a bunch of anti-FOIA bills that he led the effort on as well. So no, the record is not correct to that. And notice they don't mention the record of Brian Norris, because if they did, they would find out that Brian Norris actually fought for hand-counted, hand-marked paper ballots in Independence County. Matter of fact, he just recently filed a lawsuit regarding that. But of course, they don't mention the record. It's just a slander. So I don't know if this slander is going to work, if this kind of last-minute text bomb is going to convince enough people or scare them into thinking that Brian Norris is some kind of anti constitution person who empowers the radical left and erase our freedoms. But yeah, that's kind of the state that we're in. Oh, this is from Tiffany Ann Oakley. Now, I don't know what she says about this. This is a little video she just made. Oh, this video has no sound. Sorry. So she just made this video on this own. So she just posted this not too long ago. That's the text in of itself. But again, will it fool enough people? I don't know. Sometimes these things work, sometimes they don't. And it's also odd. It's like, why would you say yes to one or the other? Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and paste that, since that's a little short reel. I can paste that in the chat so you can kind of look at that on your own. And if you have any more information about this clown, please let everyone know. We need to kick people like this out of the Republican Party. And again, he's too much of a coward to even hold an official title. He just shows up with a badge, what's known as a proxy badge. I assume it's given to him by the governor. I'm not sure. But whoever is letting this clown go into committee meetings, they need to kick him out. And whoever is introducing this clown in the committee meetings, oops, sorry. I want to post to the group. Bit of feedback. Anyway, I'm about to jump off out of here. I got some other things to do. Follow me at Just the Right Angle to see what's going on in the local level. I'll leave you with a little bit of a song that just kind of popped in my head today. Remember when the wicked rule, the people rejoice? I'm sorry, when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people groan. You could follow me on the links below. My new Twitter account is Keep IR Legal. YouTube, Keep Arkansas Legal. Also on Locals. Set up a Rumble account. Great alternative to YouTube. And if you want to watch what's going on with the war, you can go to Matt Morse TV. He's talking about that. I guess, I don't know if you want to call it a raid or not. I don't know how to do a raid. But anyway, y'all try to have a good day.